Hello, dear Starshines. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Lunchtime Chats. My name is Christina with Life Body Academy. So glad to be here with y'all. Hey, Joanne, good to see you. Hey, Beverly. Hey, Carol. Thank you guys for patiently waiting. I'm just a little late getting started. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. Because we have capacities, we have abilities that the larger collective of our human family don't necessarily embrace. And therefore, our particular vantage points to today's challenges are very rarely addressed on the level of which we are experiencing it. So I am here to give, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective to these monumental challenges and this massive, we'll call it pit of uncertainty that we are all in. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, the big things that I want to talk about, I want to talk about AI engagement and where your power is at. Because a lot of starseeds and a lot of visionaries, I know that as soon as we start talking about AI, instantly there's a massive sense of disempowerment, like not knowing what to do about it, not knowing how to clear it, not knowing how to step out of it. Okay, so I want to talk about that. That's something super important, I think, for these times, because our humanity is exploring their own version of AI, and some of it doesn't sound so bad, and some of it sounds like some crazy shit. So I want to go into that, and then I also want to talk about empathic overwhelm, particularly in the frame up of blind spots, of what we could be doing to actually change the experience of overwhelm when we're going through the world, because that's a pretty significant part of the experience as an empath, if you guys can agree with me on that. Okay, all right. I think my neighbor might be dumping their septics. Hold on one second. I'm going to get some sage to burn. One moment, please. Okay. Something about the RV world, I think a lot of people don't realize, is that most people have no idea what they're doing. And most people really don't know how to properly deal with their septic situation, with their red black water. And well, for example, this wouldn't be happening. What I'm experiencing right now wouldn't be happening if the folks really had a clear understanding on how to deal with their black water. So this is some sage. I'm bringing it in. Maybe give some blessings to each of you to clear the air around you, clear the frequencies around you, and let perhaps this frequency also of the spirit of the sage help us be more available for the truth and honest perceptions that we are all seeking. We're all seeking truth. We're all seeking what is real in our lives. Would you guys agree? What's real? What's the program? What's my ego driver versus, right? What's the stories that we tell ourselves? Hello, young trick named Jim. How you doing? All the way from Colorado. Good to see y'all. I'll say hello to your lovely other half as well. So yeah, let's dive into this. I'm going to start with AI. Okay. So AI is a really big deal these days. There's a lot of languaging, especially one in association with the transhumanism movement. Okay, and this is where they want to put robotic or computer chips, like, create like the bionic man kind of stuff within humans, like put a chip in the head, put a chip in the brain, put a chip under the skin. There's all these kinds of things that all these kinds of things that are concerned on that human level. I'm laughing at what Joanne says. She says, do most of us really know what we're doing? Point taken, darling. Point taken. Exactly. Oh yeah. So a lot of people, when you talk about AI, they go to that kind of level, like the AI, like the supercomputer that humans have invented that pretty much take over and dominate the world via surveillance, via having power over our access to money and resources and all the things that allow us mobility and movability on this planet, right? But that is a tiny, 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 tiny sliver of the true issue of AI. And let me talk to you about what I mean. AI technology. Let me step back for a second before I say that. How many of you believe that the AI that's being born right now on this planet is the first version of AI to ever be born? How many of you believe that that is a truth? Raise your hand, or just put like a 1 in the comments. Yep, that's new to me. That's new to us, and it's born here. And then another question is, how many of you have a sense that this is not the first time AI has been created? This is not the first time humanity has dealt with the issue of AI. If that's the truth, put a 2 in the comments and hit enter. Just real quick, just so I get a gauge on where y'all are at. And even if you're listening to the recording, put this in the comments. This will help other people gauge where they're at in relationship to this topic. If they realize that there's a lot of starseeds on this planet that are a 2, and maybe they're sitting at a 1, that will give them an instant perspective. Yeah. And if maybe you're sitting at a 2 and you see there's a lot of folks, thank you, Beverly, a lot of folks that are a 1, that gives, again, that's another useful perspective, right? It's important for us to understand who we are in relationship to others in our community, where we're at in relationship to our community. Thank you, Luna. Thank you, Young Trick. Thank you, Carol. All right. So predominantly people are saying 2. All right. Just so you guys, if you're not able to see the comments live as they're going. Okay. So that's the 2s, what I want to talk about. Okay. So we can, most of us, or those of us who have given feedback, we agree that this is not the first initial birthing of AI consciousness. I think, all right. And I think a lot of us can also agree this is not the first time that melding organic material with synthetic material is this is the first time that it's happened as well, right? Now, many of us might even connect this exact dilemma all the way back to the Orion Wars. Okay, some of us have that. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Darren's making a funny comment. All right, so when we go back to this and realize that we're just re-experiencing, this is a reiteration of a drama that's already existed, that's already in existence and already has been played out, that gives us a little different perspective. For on one level, we can understand on why we feel so threatened by the idea of AI. And it's not because it's this new technology and it's unknown, we don't know what humanity is going to do with it. It's because in our soul's journey and deep in our subconscious, we know what has been done with it. You see? All right. So there's already a treasure trove of data back there that has framed up our particular experience of AI. And we'll also say artificial or non-organic. Yeah. Non-organic and AI, artificial, can kind of get all clumped together in my view. Some people might distinguish between inorganic and AI, but for the sake of conversation here, I'm going to clump them together. So here's the thing. I'm going to name off some ancient AI programs that have been framing up reality for humanity for thousands of years. Okay. 1, the Apocalypse of the Four Horsemen. That is an AI program. That is an AI program that triggers our mass catastrophe wound. What is the mass catastrophe wound? It is the entire planet, all the species on this entire planet experienced a mass traumatic event with the final fall of Atlantis. Okay? This goes all the way back to the flood. The entire planet experienced a trauma with the fall of Atlantis. Now, who's responsible for the fall of Atlantis? Well, it's the Atlanteans, it's the people, it's the beings, right? It fell from within, it rotted from within side. But what the AI program of the what the apocalypse tells us is that humanity is so beyond saving that God just had to end it for us all and start over again. Okay. So this is one of those tall tale signs of AI program. It always turns it back into it's your fault because you're the lowly human. You guys suck. You're the sinner. You're the this. You're the that. Okay. And all of those and the four horsemen are representative of that. Pestilence and plague. What are we told about pestilence and plague? It's our fault. It's God judging us because we're sinners. We're deviants. Yeah. Okay. So the AI programming is ancient, even more than that. It's older than that. And you can tell when you're plagued by AI programming because, let me say it a different way. You can tell when you are stepping into the loops of AI programming in a couple ways. One, it makes you the jerk who's responsible for it all. It's all your fault. Number two, it actually causes you to dehumanize other people around you. Okay. That dehumanization thing happens. Now, when you take just those, there's more factors, but when you take just those two factors, you can see like, holy crap, this is deeply embedded into human behaviors. Okay. And the way our trauma, dramas, and pain have been, let's say, strategically executed, our ego driver is one of the main card drivers of the AI program loops. Our ego driver is a major player in the AI program loops. But here's the thing about AI programming and we'll say inorganic realities is that it's finite. It doesn't have a life force of its own. It has to be fed. If it's not fed, it will fall. Okay. All right, dear sister Jo. Oh yeah, thank you, Joanne, for mentioning that. So yes, Barbara Hand Clow has this amazing book called Catastrophia. I believe she has written a revision of it, and in this book, she does really good scientific research and referencing historical record to validate the theory that humanity is suffering from a mass trauma event. And she traces it back to an event that happened between 11,000 and 14,000 years ago, which a lot of us equate to the fall of Atlantis, the final fall of Atlantis. There are many, many layers of fall of Atlantis, okay? Atlantis and Mu have been around for a long, 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 long time. And matter of fact, it existed in a reality that was not in the regular linear reality that we are in. So it's really hard to quantify how long it existed and how long it took for it to fall and stuff like that. But there were several different kinds of falls that happened with that particular civilization. It's the final fall that is correlated with the story of the global flooding that is the catastrophe that humanity is traumatized by. Okay. Now, these past events are very important because part of that AI program is to constantly take us back to those triggers in our subconscious that makes us either go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Okay. The fight is the part that makes us, ready for the battle, and we're going to dehumanize and cause harm and murder and rape and pillage and feel completely justified in doing it as our whatever identity, tribal identity, whatever, right? And then the flight is I'm just going to get away from the whole world. I'm out of here. Just run. Stay hiding under a rock, stay hiding in the cave, stay on the mountain, don't come down. Become a breatharian so you never have to engage with the world. I'm half serious about that. And then you have the freeze, which is the part where most people are stuck in. The freeze is the intense helplessness of being in trauma. So every time we visit these mass, these apocalyptic event potentials, it's hitting on our deeply buried species trauma. Okay, and frame that up in such a way where now you can see why COVID narrative, why that was so effective, why that completely just the unfolding of the narrative put everybody into a trauma response. Okay. Now, once you get into a trauma response, now you're highly open to suggestion. You are open to whoever says they have the solution, right? So there's that COVID narrative. And then there's the narrative of, oh, look at that, nuclear war. Right? Next narrative. All right. So we are right now are being bombarded with narratives that are triggering deeply embedded AI programming that directly connects into, right, our unresolved trauma as a species. Okay. Now, what can we be doing about it? Oh, here, wait a minute. Young trick named Jim has a thing. All right. He says, our shamanic teacher occasionally talks about a certain ET race that has grays that are biological bodies who are connected to an AI network. He also says that they are not connected to source. Okay, yes, I've had experience with those AI and those ETs, direct three-dimensional experiences with them, and that is absolutely, I can concur with that completely. There's even more crazy shenanigans to go along with it. And if you guys are familiar with the story of area was it called Area 51 and the crash landing of the spaceship that happened out there in the desert. So that is the beginning of a really crazy story, and it's only because I've been experiencing with this technology for ever since I was a young person that I can even speak to this. And what happened is that they're like drones, right? They're drones, but they're biological, but they are controlled by a network. And what's happened is that our government actually reverse engineered the mechanism that controls the network. And so they have a huge battery of resources that's under this control that is Zeta technology. I'm just going to say it like that, Zeta technology. And they used it to abduct people. They used it to experiment on people, their own people. They've done that. They've done that. Now they've highly evolved the process, and now you have things like the 20 and backers and stuff like that, and the interdimensional war on a version of Mars and all this stuff, and that too is creating fractures within our time-space reality. And but at the same time, all that is collapsing as we approach the unification of the frequencies. All that is collapsing. So it's like their shenanigans has been happening for a while, but now that they're losing control of that, it's starting to backfire, or say the wave is coming back at them, where they realize they thought they had the power, but really they are under the thumb of a much more powerful race. And I'll leave that to your guys' intuitive senses. Let me get back to the AI thing. So ancient interdimensional AI has been playing out within the consciousness on this planet for a long time. The Zetas are also heavily influenced by AI. So are the Dracos. So the Anunnaki, the Galactic Federation, all these beings are influenced by these AI structures. Okay, all of them. But what's most important, what we have to remember, is that these structures are finite. They have to be continually fed energy to exist. So getting to the place that I want to get to, the point here is, where is your power in all this? Where is your power in this game, right? Because a lot of times it hits that trauma button and we're in freeze mode and we feel helpless and powerless. We don't know what to do. So I want to outline this moment with some step-by-steps on here. This is what you can do. And it is an uphill battle. Just simple. It's uphill because we've been in it for so long. It is such a habit that it's very, very challenging to break the habit. But once you see the fruits of your labor, it becomes addictive. And then after it becomes addictive, there's no stopping you. Okay. All right. Joanne says, what What amazing info to understand more fully the high degree of control of planetary population. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. So, all right. So here's the deal. Where is our power in this? Our power in this has multiple folds to it. Okay. Number one, we need to recognize in the moment that it's happening, when we are in a loop, blaming ourselves for being awful, for being not worth it. You know, I'm such an idiot. Why can't I do it right? What's, you know, all the things that are wrong with you. Or when you get a data set, when you get some kind of data set intuitively and it's all your fault. You're overwhelmed with this feeling, it's all your fault. Say you had a dream of a planet exploding and you woke up with this feeling that's all my fault. It's all my fault. And then we're having a reaction to the feeling of having this massive, terrible thing happen that's all our fault, right? That's an AI program. Yes, there's trauma in there too, but the AI keeps us in the mental loop. And the advantage of keeping us in the mental loop is that we're no longer engaged with the feeling in our body. We're no longer engaged with the data sets in our physical body that can actually take us to the place that we need to go to resolve the issue. Okay? Those loops are powerful. I know really great healers that don't know how to get out of those loops once they get started. So, I mean, this is really an advanced level of teaching that I'm sharing here, but we all have the capacity to do it. It's just making it a priority and committing to it, right? So, right. So that's the first thing. When you get into the loop that it's all my fault, huge, huge, huge. Catch yourself. Say, oh yeah, that's it. I fully believe it, man. Oh, the guilt and the shame and the in my neck and the weight on my chest and the gut, right? Start doing that. Start engaging all the uncomfortable stuff in the body instead of the mental loop that takes you up. The mental loop will take you up. As soon as you disengage the mental loop, it doesn't control the show anymore. It doesn't control your focus. Because remember, it has to have your energy to continue. As soon as you stop feeding it, it doesn't have energy anymore. And the reason why these AI programs are so pervasive is because we're constantly feeding it our mental, emotional, spiritual energy. We're constantly feeding it. We're buying into it. We're buying into the fact that humans are a plague on this planet. You know what? We're a plague on this planet because we have been plagued. We've been incepted to be that plague. That's not our true nature. Pachamama didn't give birth to these bodies to be a plague upon her. No, 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 no. She gave birth to these bodies for us to have an awesome creme de la creme experience to imbue with our essence so we can see beauty and magic, right? And unfold ourselves in a great mystery. That's why these bodies are here. It's not because of that. That's the bullshit program that keeps us down. Okay, so that's number one. When you start feeling that the weight of the world is all your fault, that's an AI program, right? Number two, another indication that you're stepping into it is when you have your finger stuck out like this. They are to blame. They are to blame. These stupid sheeple, these awful government, this terrible alien, they are to blame. It's all their fault that I'm frozen in helplessness. It's all their fault that I'm ... whatever it is. Okay. It's that person for saying this. It's this person for saying that. The blame program. Now, the blame program is really, really, really intense, and it takes a lot of emotional maturity to get through it. Okay. But it's worth your time. It's definitely worth your time. Because when you get into the blame program, that fires up all of the woundings of your ancestors in addition to your own stuff, right? So now you're looking at generations of momentum of blame being expressed in that one single moment of the here and now. It's overwhelming. It's huge. It's like a tidal wave. Okay. Man, I'm wondering if their hose is actually leaking. Okay, anyway, let's get back to it. So this piece here, the blame, that takes a lot to rise up. That takes a lot to rise to. So this is one of those things where we need a community. I believe we need a community. It's very helpful to at least have one other person to share a blame story with. So so that person can lift you up by telling you the truth that they see. Because when we, even the scathing truth, even when we tell the truth of what we see, if both people are showing up to the truth, we elevate each other. We rise with each other into something new, into something unknown. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And when we have each other, it's so much easier to step past the program of blame, the AI program of blame. Now, granted, there's trauma and wounding and pain and agony and brokenheartedness. There's all that in there. I'm talking just specifically with the AI part of it, the one that puts us in a loop that we can't find our way out of the maze. Even though we want to, even though we ask help to, we still aren't able to find our way through the maze. The truth, that is how you get out of the maze. It has to be the truth, and you have to be able to speak the truth. And it's not a truth of this is what I think is so. It's actually a feeling inside of your body that's rising up that needs to have words put to it. Okay, that's the kind of truth that I'm talking about. And your truth in this moment as you speak it may be very different than an hour from now or even 24 hours from now. So I'm not talking about a static idea of truth. I'm talking about an in the moment feeling truth that's happening that rises up out of the body and you put a voice to it. When that kind of truth comes out, this is where we rise with, this is how the energy of truth gets added into the field and it shatters that program, and both people can rise up out of that. Okay. Another key moment to catch when you are diving into an AI program loop, and that is your willingness to dehumanize somebody, your willingness to make them the scum of the earth, the shit of your shoe, they're less than you or whatever. We all do it on some level sometime, right? When we are willing to dehumanize somebody, that is a flag that we are involved in that AI program. Okay? Because that's what this program does. It strips our humanity away. Because the more of our humanity gets stripped away, the more disempowered we become as a species. We become dependent on something else outside of us instead of being empowered by what is inside of us. Okay? What's inside of us. This is key. It has to be inside. This is how we fix it. This is how we save our planet. This is how we save each other. But it has to, but it's only with each other can we be saved. You see? Okay. So now you're getting a clear sense of what this AI engagement is all about. And this is why dehumanizing has to be a part of the equation, because when we dehumanize everyone around us because they're that and whatever, right? Now there's no one left to speak the truth for us to rise with. Okay. So it quite literally takes away one of our big superpowers as a being in a biosuit, which is the power of speaking the truth. Have you guys ever heard someone speak the truth or speak out loud something and you're feeling waves go through your whole body? Okay, that's because there's a deep level of truth that they're speaking. That's why. And when you are that deeply in your being and you're giving it voice, it actually changes the reality in the moment for you and everybody around you. Okay, it's powerful. It's powerful. Okay, I'm going to share some comments here before I move on. All right. Okay. So then Joanne goes on to say, how did some of us create a history that saved us from falling for the agenda? Okay. How did some of us create a history that saved us from falling for the agenda? Okay. And then dear sister Beverly says, I have heard an interesting thing, can't verify the details though, that one of the Cedar Race Council of Five had recently dismantled the technology that keeps us in the karma cycle by force. Yes, that's true. Karma is a program that is forced upon us. That's that afterlife review that I talked about in the past, right? That's an important thing, and it is being, or it has been lifted. For those, see, this is the key about that finite, and it only stays alive as long as we're feeding it. For those of us who woke up out of and realized that karma is a program and it's not really real, we're not impacted by it anymore. But there's many, many, many humans that deeply believe in karma. It's a deep part of their spiritual practice and their spiritual beliefs. So it's going to be a cold day in hell before they ever let that go. And therefore it's going to stay in existence because they are consistently feeding it. That's simple. Stop feeding it. It won't be around. See, this is why they have to go through so many extreme measures to keep us distracted and confused. Because all we need to do is stop feeding these systems and they fall apart because it has no life force of its own. It has no life force of its own. All right, Joanne goes on to say, I'm discovering just how subtle the blame program is. Wow, I want to be able to go into witnessing the moment. Yes, and this is, this just shows the depth of wisdom of our different spiritual masters in the past, because they realized, they really did, they realized how deeply buried we are in this reality, and that any elaborate, complicated thing can instantly get hijacked. So when you boil something down to the most simple bottom denominator that you can, then that's going to be what prevails. That's going to be able to, consistently survive. And what is the bottom line that they have been teaching, especially the Buddhists? No mind. Silence the mind. Silence the mind. You silence the programs, the AI programs and infiltration. You can see the wisdom in this. Now, silencing the mind is not a caveat to waking up, not these days. So do know that. So if you haven't spent 40 years silencing your mind through meditation, don't worry about it. It's totally cool. There's ways to move forward, right? We're starseeds, guys. We have encodements that give us capabilities that others are not in the old paradigm. Right. So the teachings are still very relevant. It's just that how we can arrive to a similar place in a different way. There's more than one way to skin a cat on this. Right. So we don't have the time to spend 40 years learning how to be empty, though it is worth our time to do that on a daily basis, because it supports us in our process. It supports us in our mission on being here, purpose for being here, right? The reason why your soul has you waking up out of bed every day and facing the world. And I can guarantee you it's not for you to go to your job and pay bills and pay taxes. That's not why your soul has you waking up every day. It's much more simpler than that. Okay. So hope you guys have a clear picture now on exactly what you can be doing to drain the life force energy out of these AI programs. Now, as a shamanic practitioner, as a multidimensional, there are ways to dissolve people's connections into these networks and programs. Oh boy, there are definitely ways for that. But here's the rub. You can dissolve all their connections. You can dissolve somebody's connections. You can dissolve the programs and implants that are inside their body. You can unravel and dissolve all of those things. But if they are not clear on how they are participating and co-creating those programs with the AI, they're going to recreate it again. They're going to call it back in and recreate it again. So it's more beneficial to dissolve the deep-seated traumas, clear the ancestral lineages. It's much more advantageous to clean up all this, then go into the AI stuff, because all this stuff works together. It's not only AI, it's all taking advantage of the wounds. And a great example, like the crucifixion, you know, geez, oh man, that's a huge one. That really gets people, whether they're Christian or not, doesn't matter. Every time you're looking at a cross, you're looking at the a holographic representation of the crucifixion of your consciousness, folks. Every single time. You know, this is why people, especially empaths, get disturbed sometimes when they go, when they see that imagery. Some, not all. All right, so let me keep going into this other piece. And if there's more to talk about with this AI that I missed, go ahead and put it in the comments and I'll circle back around and grab it and talk about it. Okay. I want to start moving on into the empathic overwhelm, because empaths, darling, we are really getting called forward, and we are really, really, really getting thrown into the fire in the sense of we have to get our shit together. As far as being empowered with our abilities, we really got to get our shit together, because we're just stepping even deeper. We're getting out of the frying pan and jumping into the fire, and we need to understand how we're doing that and what we could be doing differently so we don't keep having our sensitivities be a burden. Our sensitivities are not meant to be a burden. They're actually a superpower. It's just we are not in right relationship with it sometimes. Okay. So I want to talk about empathic overwhelm in connection with blind spots. Okay. Now, there are lots of reasons for blind spots to be so. A really, really common one is trauma. Trauma creates a blind spot because, you know, trauma happens, some part of us slivers off, and now that part of it isn't available anymore. And that part of our body that was in that trauma also has energy get burrowed in there, and that's not available anymore, right? So there's that kind of blind spot. There's also blind spots that are framed up with the beliefs of what we think is true, what we think is not. There are blind spots as a result to our personality, who we think we are. We really believe we are who we think we are. That's a huge blind spot, because now you're not open to all these other aspects of who you are beyond this body, beyond this existence. Okay, there's those kind of blind spots. But there's another kind of blind spot that comes up, and this one can be mitigated in the moment. You don't need to have an outside person to help you with this blind spot. You can do it completely on your own in the moment, and that is slowing down. Okay, I know it's when we're in mind thought or in our day, slow down can feel rather inconvenient, but it's really, really worth our time to slow down. And that's because when we slow down, we then have the empty time and space to reconnect with how we're feeling in a moment. Okay. Now that sounds really simple, right? But it's actually not that easy for empaths, especially when they're surrounded with other people's energy, because the energy of other people has our attention more than what's going on inside of us. Okay. So slowing down, first, in order to slow down, you have to focus on you. You need to focus on your breath, focus on your heartbeat. You need to actually pull your awareness, everything back inside for a moment in order to achieve slowing down. Some people might describe the feeling as grounding and centering. Okay. So once you slow down, you're less likely to be blind to certain things that are happening inside of you. When everything is super accelerated, there's so much water going under the bridge, we don't notice things that are important for us to notice. This is why recapitulation is so powerful for empaths, especially, because once we slow down, we realize that when we step into this empathic overwhelmed situation, when we slow down to the moments before, we realize that we knew that was going to happen and made the choice anyway. We made ourselves, we knew it was going to happen. We made that voice wrong. We told ourselves another story that was more important than that voice. And then we move forward with it. And then boom, we get overwhelmed. Maybe we get re-traumatized. Maybe we walk away crying. Maybe it takes us a week, a day, hours, years to get over the event. Okay. All because all that burden, all that crap happened because we did not take the time to slow down. Okay. When we slow down, we are more available to listen to the inner voice inside. And when we are more available to listen to that inner voice inside, we can be more aware of how we're responding to the voice. We could be more aware of, oh yeah, I'm telling that voice to shut up and sit down. I'm doing this anyway. Or I'm telling the voice that it's not important. This agenda over here is more important than what you're saying. Or the voice is saying something and you are so into your saviorhood that you're like, it's more important that these people get what I think they need than my well-being. I'm strong. I can take it. I'll take the hit. Right? You guys see, you do that. Yes. Isn't that cool? Y'all know that you do that. Okay, so slowing down gives you time to prepare. It doesn't mean you're not going to go into the situation. It means that you're internally prepared. You're internally in integrity and impeccability with yourself. You are taking full responsibility for the very clear decision that you're making. So that way, if you go forward into the situation and it turns into it's that very rocky, difficult situation that you knew it was, A, you're not surprised. B, you're not a victim, right? And C, you know exactly what your decision was that got you into that situation. You see? Okay, you can see how slowing down can dissolve that blind spot. Okay. Now I know that there's a lot of ideas of empathy, and there's a lot of narratives out there that really feed the disempowerment of an empath. But what I want to really let you guys know, I want to share stories with you now that, I've been working with empaths for a very long time. I'm an empath myself. I was one that was constantly in overwhelm. I absorbed everybody's shit. If there was an entity floating in the room, guaranteed I went home with it. I picked it up. I couldn't even go to an amusement park without absorbing the crap of everybody around me. And I said, I told myself it's because I'm an empath. I'm just super sensitive and la la la. What else did I tell myself? That I'm an empath. I'm super sensitive. I can take it for them because they can't take it themselves. I can absorb their wound because I can transmute it. I can take responsibility because I can see, I'll take it because I can see what needs to happen. There's no possibility they'd be able to do it. All that stuff. This is a bullshit program. This is a program of being a savior. This is a program of assuming other people can't deal with it. It's a program that totally talks us into putting ourselves into a disempowerment scenario. When the fact of the reality is, we are getting empathically over. We don't understand how we are actually creating the empathic overwhelm ourselves. We are creating that. You're creating that. I'm creating that. Okay? We are doing it ourselves. We don't know how we're doing it ourselves. See, instantly the AI program is going to kick in. Oh, it's because I'm not this and I'm not that. No. That's not why. That's not why. We're creating ourselves because we're not taking the time to slow down and pay attention. That's how we're creating ourselves. It's not because we're ignorant. It's not because we're stupid. It's not because we're not sensitive enough. It's not because of any fault or flaw of our character. Okay? Because we've been programmed and trained and conditioned to be in a certain way. None of that is a fault of us. Where it's at is that we need to prioritize listening to this in our lives. And the only way that happens is slowing down. Some people, nope, I don't think that's the truth. I was going to say some people can be really fast and catch these little details, but I don't think that's the truth. I think that's a falsehood, because we need space. We really need to have space to process things. The pace of this world is not a natural pace. It's not an organic pace. It's the pace of the artificial reality. It's the pace of the AI programming. Okay. It's the pace of the non-organic world. That's what those are the rhythms that most humans are living. You know, we're not living our life according to the sunrise and the sunset. We're not living our life according to the solstices and equinoxes. A lot of people don't even know the difference between those two things, right? We're not living our life according to the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the season, right? For example, where I'm at right now, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place in Appalachia, and fall has hit early. Fall has hit early this year. And how do I know that, being a stranger, right? It's because I'm slowing down and I'm listening to the locals. I'm listening to the people, and there are remarks that normally the not as many colors as there are now here. It's like they're realizing that the peak of the fall color is very, very close, and normally it doesn't happen for another few weeks. Okay, so people who are outside paying attention are now aware that we are having an early fall. We're having an early fall season. And when you have an early fall season, if you pay attention to the cycles, to nature, it's common for an early winter season. And maybe a longer winter season. We won't know till we're there, but when you're tuned into the natural cycles, this is what's in your awareness. Most people are completely oblivious around here, or anywhere. They're oblivious because they're in artificial environment when they're working, when they're at home. You know what I mean? Who has AC? Who has heat? You know, all that stuff is kicking on. You don't really notice. You only notice nature when you're driving in your car, getting from point A to point B, or you're walking your dog. Actually, having a dog is a really great therapeutic thing because they force you to get outside and feel what's going on in the world, what's going on around you. A lot of people have friends or know their neighbors simply because them and their neighbors have dogs. You know, so dogs are a beautiful, beautiful gift to humanity, to help humanity stay connected to their humanity, right? So the rhythms that humanity is living in is not natural, and this unnatural rhythms that we're living create huge blind spots that keep us unaware of things that are really important for us to be aware of. So if grounding and centering is one of the big problems in your life, right? It's not about walking barefoot on the earth, though that does help. It's not about putting a grounding cord in, though that can help. It's about retuning your life to be in sync with the natural rhythms. Because when you're in sync with the natural rhythms, you naturally slow down. You slow down. And when you slow down, you pay closer attention. When you slow down, there's more inner space available to hear the subtle whispers of your intuitive guidance, of your inner knowing. Yeah. So I hope this is helpful, what I'm sharing with you guys, and the way that I'm sharing it. I'm being revisited by the power of recapitulation. And this is probably because we're about to start the program tomorrow in the academy. But I want to just reiterate it to you guys. Recapitulation is so, so, so powerful. It's when you recap an event that is really painful for you. Like, say you have a memory with a spouse that, even though you're not with that person anymore, it just you still have so much pain around the event. Through the act of recapitulating, recapping every little detail of that event, that can help you release energy that keeps you locked into the pain of it. Okay? And can quite literally liberate the part of you that's still reliving that event in your subconscious. Recapitulating is a very simple way of releasing these energies so you can have stronger connection to your dream time, stronger connection to your flow, right? Stronger connection to the rhythms, the natural rhythms of your life and your world. So I'm being reminded of that today. I'm being reminded of this, in several moments today, actually. So I think that's why I'm talking about this with that slowing down piece. just yesterday, there was an event, and this was within my back office. There was an event where there was miscommunication happening. And it was like, if I met the energy where it was at, it was like brr, 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 brr. If I met it where it was at, it would have just climaxed into, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, and it would have easily turned into a power play. But instead, I was like, okay, slow down, slow down. And in the communication, I kept slowing everything down. And as we slowed down, we saw the details of where the disconnect was happening. And it was done in such a way where there's no one to blame. There's no one to blame. There's no blame here. It's just that there were disconnects happening because of quick, 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 quick. Once we were aware of slowing down, we can see where those disconnects were happening, and then we can get really super crystal clear with each other. And that is so relieving. It's so pleasurable, really, to just speak the clear truth as you see it in a way that's slow and honoring of each other. Then we can just boom, we can just get to the clarity without that wow, 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 right? Yeah, no. And everybody walks away feeling completely seen, honored, and respected in that conversation. Okay. This is how humanity lifts each other up right here. You speaking truth, you being open and transparent to the truth as you know it, speaking it, not shutting yourself up, blaming the other person on why you can't say it, right? Because that's a bullshit story. It's a bullshit story. You shutting yourself up is your bullshit story. That's your game. You don't know how that person's going to react. You're assuming how they're going to react, and therefore you're projecting your trauma drama on that person. Now you're withholding the truth, and now nobody rises. Nobody gets to see, nobody gets to meet. It's just one harboring an issue against another and not willing to talk about it. Therefore, it never goes away. Okay? When we slow down and we speak truth to each other, no, you have no idea how that truth is going to land. We have no idea how that truth is going to land. There's no guarantees, zero guarantees. Only thing is, that it's right to say the truth as you're feeling it. So you say the truth as you're feeling it. And you just happen to be so lucky with somebody who has a similar value of truth. And now they're going to have a response to what you just said. And they're going to give a very honest, authentic response to what you said. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you realized, oh, wow, there's a part of that truth I thought was real, but it's kind of bullshit. Thanks. Wow, I didn't even notice. Right? So in this way, and it's no one forcing anything onto anybody. It's a self-realization at your own pace, in your own way. It's our willingness with the authenticity that when we're sharing like this, we go into this big place of unknown zone, this unknown, undiscovered zone. And the more we share authentically in that zone, the more we rise up with each other with our differences. Our differences catalyze us to rise. Okay? It's just, how do we frame things up where everybody can show up like that? Are you willing to show up like that? Is your friend willing to show up like that? Right? We don't know until we speak it, until we put it out there. And then once you put it out there, it's this wild, crazy, wild, wild west adventure. And maybe you'll leave that adventure feeling a bit pissed off. Maybe you'll leave that adventure realizing, oh, okay, I think I was a little full of shit there and didn't realize it. Okay. Maybe you leave that adventure feeling like, holy crap, that was amazing. I absolutely love what just happened. You don't know. It's an adventure. That's the whole thing. The truth is a really powerful energy. And the more people are stepping into it and willing to share it with each other, instead of being nice, instead of being, copacetic, instead of being PC, because that's all bullshit. That's just one passive aggressive bullshit lie. I'm going to say it like it is. That pisses me off when someone blows smoke up my ass telling me how great this and how great that, and behind all that energy, they're scared shitless to talk to me. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. I feel completely slimed by your kindness. It's like, it means nothing. Because if I actually spoke a scathing truth to you, you'd be in a spiral pissed off at me. And my name will be mud. Right? So PC kindness is total sabotage. It has to be truth, the real truth. This is really how I feel about what was just went down. And you're there for it. And when you're there for it, you respond to it equally in that truth, right? Everybody becomes super benefited by each other's connection. This is where our humanity shines. This is where it shines. This is where we actually melt that programming. Boom, it's gone. That AI program has zero power when we are standing in a field of truth. But we have to be willing to do it. We are completely immune to empathic overwhelm when our inner truth is more important than caretaking the bullshit people around us, the bullshit of other people around us, right? That's how this all translates. This is how it all translates into our everyday world. All right. Thank you, darling. Yeah. Thank you, Carol. Thank you. Thank you. Dear Joanne says, as a faculty, once upon a time was to approach the challenge as what isn't working. Is that what we heal? Is that what we heal it? Oh, so that we can heal it. What do we all have to see and realize rather than who is to blame? Yeah, yeah. So there have been measures to try to do this. And we would know all was clear when we ended up in laughter. Yes, that's awesome. Great. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. But people need to be on board with it. And if people aren't on board with it, you'll realize it very quickly. And you'll also recognize that it's not you, it's them. And then you can now work at, okay, accepting that they're not ready for that kind of thing. And now you know where you are. And now they know you're going to be truthful whether they like it or not. In a way, they get liberated without even realizing it. Okay? They get liberated without even realizing it. This is how my inner circle works. It's like everybody in my inner circle, I would hope. I feel like it's true but the long-standing relationships I have in my inner circle, they thrive because we are all have a huge commitment to being truthful and honest with each other. We respect each other so deeply that we owe the other person the truth. Okay? And in that, we just become more liberated with each other in our relationship, more respectful with each other in our relationship, even more grateful that we have these relationships. They're not relationships of obligation. They're relationships in where when we connect, we rise together. You know, we're lifting each other in this field of truth. We unravel things just by being able to acknowledge them with each other. It's really powerful. Alrighty. So, for those of you listening to this live or listening to the recording, if you listen to this recording before the end of Thursday night, I want to extend an invitation to you guys to check out our Module 1, our recapitulation and death rights program. It's for October. It starts tomorrow, Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. It's all about, it's 3 weeks of practice and teachings around how to use recapitulation, and then 3 weeks of death rights, using death rights to liberate your ancestors, using death rights to liberate people in your inner circle, and even how to facilitate when you're with someone in person that is going through the dying process. These are powerful, powerful teachings. I believe that all star seeds would benefit knowing how to recapitulate and do death rights, because it is the most simplest thing to be able to show up and hold space for somebody. You don't need to know about all the interdimensional stuff. You don't need to know how to track in a way that goes through realms. You don't need to know all these pieces. You don't need to know all the details. All you need to be able to tell what's the truth and what's not the truth. That's the only part of your compass that needs to be working, that you need to be able to trust, right? And then you can have profound change in the relationships around you. So, after the recording of this video, I will, or Beverly, if you can put the link for Module 1, only Module 1, into the comments for anybody who feels called to explore the recapitulation and death rights. This is really up for me right now in a lot of places in my life, and this is always how it goes with my work. It's like I get to re-experience things, deepen in them, and in that we work that energy as a group, and then we all go that much deeper. We all go that much more through these illusions, delusions, and actually awaken the seeds of power that are at the root of all of these trauma dramas and pains that we have in our lives. Trauma, drama, and pain is misunderstood events. You know, they're events that are framed up, you know, in such a way that cause us to stay in a shattered state. Versus if we recognize what the moth to flame is, like the whole purpose on why that event happened on a soul level, you know, we can actually unwind all of that like this, and it's no longer an issue. Hope that makes sense. All right, darlings. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, hope you guys make it a great week. If you want to participate in the cultivation of these topics, today is an exception because it was with stuff that's going on in my everyday world. But if you want to, normally what I do is I engage in the conversations happening in the Rise group and the Telegram group, and then that's what I talk about in these chats. So if you want to be a part of that, check out Multidimensional Human on Telegram, or Rise of the Multidimensional Human on Facebook. Go ahead and answer all the questions for those groups. You'll get automatically entered, and then you'll be able to have share conversations, share things that are important to you, what's on the radar for you. Now, I don't necessarily engage in conversations because I don't have that kind of bandwidth, but I do scroll through and look at what people are talking about, looking at the things that are concerning, you know, what's up here, what's up there. And that's how I formulate what kind of thing is important for me to talk about in these chats. Alrighty, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Until next time. Bye-bye.